Hey, what's good, everybody? It is Rare World Journey here, and today we are here at the Apopka Museum. And we're going to go ahead and cover some African American history and some general history here in Apopka. And here we have, introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Maribel Brinko. I am the president of the Apopka Historical Society. Our museum stands as a testament to the rich history of human experience, preserving and showcasing the stories, artifacts, and memories that have shaped our community and beyond. As you embark on this journey through time within our museum walls, I encourage you to immerse yourself in the narrative of bygone eras, appreciating the resilience, triumphs, and tribulations of those who came before us, especially this month in celebration of Black History Month. So, welcome again.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and, view all the things that they have to offer. And yeah, let's go ahead and switch it aside. All right. So we have our narrator here. And introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Justin Baker. I'm the museum technician here at the Apopka Museum. And so I'm going to take you guys on a small little tour through our museum.
Alrighty.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, so our first exhibit that we're going to be going over is the African American exhibit here for the Apopka Museum. And the few areas that I'd like to highlight here is going to be the top photo right there. Right. That's going to be Mr. Michael Gladden Jr. He is the son of Michael Gladden Sr. and owned a convenience store here in the Apopka area. And that's actually a picture of it right there.
Alrighty.
So unfortunately, the building is no longer standing due to disrepair, but Michael Gladden Jr. ran the building from about the 1920s to the 1970s. His father ran it in the early 1900s, but was unfortunately killed in 1924. And so then that's what allowed his son to come back from college and help run the store. Okay. And so his second wife, Miss Marie Gladden, was a principal and teacher in the area here. And so she would eventually go on to be the principal of Phyllis Wheatley. And so another person that I like to highlight here is Miss Minnie Mae Robinson. Alrighty. She was a part of a family of 7 or 8 here in the Apopka area and did not know how to read or write till the age of 69 years old. Once she did, she wrote 3 books.
Wow.
So she had plenty to say.
What are the books that she wrote?
So, interestingly enough, we actually have one of them right there in that back right corner about her life.
Oh, this one right here.
Uh-huh.
Wow, okay. Wow. Okay.
And so we are looking to try to get the other 2 books here, but we're still in the process of doing that right now.
All right, okay.
So, but moving on to I should say Dr. Robert Williams. Dr. Robert Williams was the first African American man to earn a doctorate degree here from the Apopka area, and he got it in music. And so we have a collection of his grades when he was in school, as well as a photo album from him as well.
Okay, all right.
So then we also have sports here, just beside the African American exhibit here. And so the highlights that I like to see here is the World Series jacket that we have from the team that was ended up making it to the Little League World Series in 2001, but unfortunately lost to Japan 2-1. So we do have a newspaper clipping down here of the team when they ended up becoming the best team in the United States.
Wow.
We also have a signed photograph of the team as well.
Wow. The best team in the United States.
And I always like to show off a little bit here when it comes to Apopka because one of the teams that they ended up beating in the tournament actually had an ineligible player. I can't even say the word. But he wasn't even able to actually be registered on the team. And he somehow ended up playing due to some thing happening. But the Apopka team ended up beating him anyways.
Wow.
So it didn't matter. But when it comes to the schools here in the Apopka area, there's 2 that I like to highlight, and that's going to be Apopka High School, which if you take a look at this right photo here and
Wow.
that right photo over there, that is actually the current city hall for the city of Apopka. And it is right across the street from here.
Wow. I went to that school.
Did you?
Apopka,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
okay. Yeah, so then it became Apopka Memorial and then Apopka High School.
Wow, okay. Interesting.
And so then the other school that I like to highlight here as well is Phyllis Wheatley High School. Miss Phyllis Wheatley doesn't have a connection to the Central Florida area, but the school was named after her because of what she had done. So she was a slave in the early American Revolution era. She was purchased in Boston and came from the native Ghana area, to the best of our knowledge. And so Miss Wheatley ended up, like I had said purchased her, and to which they basically treated her like a third child. They ended up educating her. They ended up teaching her everything that she could learn. And at the age of 16 years old, she started to write poetry. And so she tried to publish that work here, and that didn't really go too well. So the family ended up picking up everything that they owned and moved to London, England, to where she published her work there and gained world recognition. And so unfortunately she ended up dying. I think it was within 10 years of moving to England, but her work still lives on. And so that was the reason why, when it came to Phyllis Wheatley High School, why we named it after her.
Okay. Alrighty.
So here we have our, our
Right here or up here?
so this is for our firefighters, and then this is for our military, a little military dedication when it comes to African American history.
Okay.
So we have a few highlights here when it comes to the war itself. So we have some Congressional Medal of Honor winners.
Alrighty.
Then we also have some African American military contributions highlighted here. The favorite one that I always like to highlight there is the Red Tails. I always love that story, and when I was younger, I watched that movie way too many times. It was so good.
And this is the father, right?
Yes,
And this is the son.
is the son. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Benjamin Davis. Yep.
Alrighty.
So I think they had obtained the rank of general, I think. I'm not confident. Please do not quote me on that.
It's all good.
But yes. So when it comes to the fighter fighters here from the Apopka area, the fighter fighters date as far back as the city of Apopka does, which is 1882 was when it first became the city of Apopka. The firefighter team itself was actually all volunteer until the 1960s. And so another interesting tidbit that I like to add here is that we were one of the first firefighter departments in the Central Florida area to run the ambulance through the fire department, because the only car that was big enough to hold a person when it came to injuries was actually a hearse, and it was ran through the funeral home.
Wow.
So most places the ambulance ran through the funeral home because of that, but we were one of the first when it came to the ambulance running through the fire department itself. So in the 1960s, we hired 6 people, and then it's grown to over 150 firefighters now and 6 firefighter buildings. So we've grown exponentially, and thankfully. But moving on over here,
Alrighty.
we have a bunch of different highlights when it comes to African American history, just in general over the entire United States, not just Apopka.
Right, right.
Because we have influential Black history over there, and then Apopka's radical changes here in our city.
Apopka's racial changes. So, what did they mean by the like the racial change? Like they were changed from black to colored, or like.
So in terms of that, when it comes to the Apopka area, we actually did have a area that was specifically with African American people that settled in the area. It was called Meads Bottom, and so that was actually an area. We'll be able to look at it on our map over there,
Alrighty.
actually. But when it comes to Meads Bottom, it was one of the first areas settled here in the Apopka area, and it was by African American people.
Wow.
And so when it comes to just the overall racial changes, just in general, just going over the history of how all of the changes on the national level ended up coming down to the Apopka area and influencing the Apopka area and the Central Florida area, because we do cover a lot of history when it comes to Northwest Orange County as well. So Orange County is a big county here in Florida. So, but also I did want to highlight too as well, we were talking about Michael Gladden's shop. So these two rows here are actually items that were from his store. And so these were all given to us by one of our amazing volunteers, Miss Francina Boykin.
Wow.
And so she worked very closely with Michael Gladden before he had passed away, Michael Gladden Jr. before he had passed away. So a lot of the shopkeep stuff are from his actual shop.
What about on this area?
So some of the magazines themselves have been collected again by Miss Francina Boykin. To the best of my knowledge, they don't have a tie to Gladden's shop, but they are still a part of the collection, or something that would have been most likely sold in his store.
Okay. History in the USA.
Yes, ma'am. Or he might be able to edit it, or he'll edit it.
About Alonso Biden is the first commissioner, brother.
Oh, yeah.
Still down in
There we go. Welcome to the museum. Have you been here before?
So this is general U.S. history, as you can see. Go. Alrighty.
Sorry about that.
You're all good.
Let's go ahead and move this.
Alrighty.
Alrighty.
Oh, this the map?
This is a little. We've got it set up for Black History Month. If you want to do the front too, you can.
Yeah, we'll do the front.
Sure.
Alright.
So these two posters here are just over Apopka early Black pioneers themselves. So we've got a few families actually here. We also have William Gladden, which was Michael Gladden's brother. And then we also have William Gladden Jr., which also went by the name of P. Ryan Slim. He actually has one of his books here in the Apopka Museum gift shop. So I was thinking there might be, there's Miss Marie Gladden there.
Y si quieres dejar su email, te podemos mandar invitaciones a los programas.
So then I did want to take this time so that way we can go to the map behind, going with Meads Bottom, and then bringing on another Black pioneer of the Apopka area, that is Miss Sarah Mead. So Miss Sarah Mead was actually one of the first people to have land in Meads Bottom. And so that's why it was called Meads Bottom, was because of Miss Sarah Mead. And so Meads Bottom was actually in this plot here when it came to the Apopka area. And so this is Tilden's area. And so, but this was it right here was Meads Bottom. And so if I scoot right over here, I wanted to highlight this building right here.
Oh yeah.
That building right there is the lodge. It is the oldest building here in the Apopka area that is still standing.
Oh wow.
And it was built in the 1850s. So it is
1850s.
1850s. Yep. So it's one of the oldest buildings, and with the lodge, that was the reason why Apopka ended up getting its city ordinance, and so excuse me, with that. And so because of the lodge, so when the Orange County seat was being brought into the area, Orange County was being designated. This was again the 1850s. The lodge was one of the areas that was actually being considered. So it was the lodge, it was Fort Christmas, and then to the best of my knowledge, it was a place called Jernigan, Florida. And so not a lot of people know Jernigan, Florida, but they do know Orlando, Florida. And so that's actually what Jernigan ended up becoming, was Orlando, Florida. And so that is why.
So they changed the name from German in Florida to Orlando.
Yep, Jernigan. Yep, to Orlando, Florida. Yep.
Okay.
And so that's as the city built.
That's
what
interesting.
led to that.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
So
And you know about Tampa, right?
I do not.
Oh, okay. Because I heard something about like Tampa. It was changed from Yampa, Florida to Tampa, Florida.
Oh, I believe that.
So yeah, I'm not too sure, but I'm gonna do research when I get home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yes, we'll go back and cover.
Right.
But we do have a photo of that
Oh,
of the
okay.
lodge.
Oh.
So we'll go back and look at that photo.
All right.
And so we'll go right over here to another
Alrighty.
some other local heritage right here.
Alrighty.
We have Miss Minnie May here as well too, having to do with her books.
Okay.
And so then also as well, I wanted to highlight Mr. Alonzo Williams. Alonzo Williams Jr. was actually the brother of Robert Williams, the first doctor of the Apopka area. And so he was the first African-American man to be elected into the city commission seat here in Apopka. And so ironically enough, it's always so funny to mention, when he was running against the first woman that was actually elected to the city commission, which was Miss Marital Womble. And so she had held her commissioner seat before Mr. Alonzo Williams, and then when she ended up losing the election and losing her seat, she ended up running again, and that was against Mr. Alonzo Williams, and she ended up losing, and he became the first African American to hold a city commission seat here in the city of Apopka.
Wow.
So a lot of firsts in that family.
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
firsts.
I'm gonna go ahead and showcase this art real quick. This
course,
merchandise. Very
What we
beautiful,
got?
man.
We got someone coming through. Sorry.
Very beautiful.
You're good. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Alrighty. We got all this. Alrighty. And this should be the Indian part, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All this.
Alrighty.
Okay.
So when it comes to the Native American exhibit here in the Apopka Museum, there are 3 Native American tribes that I like to highlight here. The first one is the Timucuan Indians. So the Timucuans were actually the first Native American tribe to be introduced to the Spanish here in Florida. Unfortunately, just shortly after the Spanish came in, we actually don't know, but the Timucuans just up and disappeared. We don't know if it was due to disease, we don't know if it was due to conflict, or either internal or external with the Spanish, but they just up and disappeared. And so unfortunately, with that up and disappearance of the Timucuans, a lot of their information left as well with them. In fact, the name Timucuan actually derives from the Spanish translation of what they called them. So not even their name is their own, which is really sad. But they were the first Native American tribe that was here when the Spanish first started to come in. And then later on, the next Native American tribe that I wanted to highlight is the Creek Indians. So the Creek Indians was, if I'm not mistaken, the largest eastern Indian tribe that was not a confederation in the entire eastern United States. They were massive. They had territory all the way up into North Carolina, and then as far down south as here in mid-Florida. And then, to the best of my knowledge, they went as far west as Mississippi, parts of Mississippi. So it was a massive Native American tribe.
Wow.
And so, unfortunately, due to conflicts with the United States, unfortunately, the Native American tribe was pushed down into Florida, which actually leads to the third tribe that a lot of historians are starting to push an idea that the Seminole Indians that everyone knows here is actually displaced Creeks after the Creek War. So, but they ended up settling down here, creating their own life after, again, being displaced from their territory up further north. But unfortunately, again, the United States declared war on the Seminole Indians, pushing them even further south. And that's why they have their territory still in around the Lake Okeechobee area. So there are reservations down further south that they still are a part of, and then of course the Trail of Tears with the rest of the Native American tribes that were associated or captured when it came to the Seminole Wars. But this is our displays when it comes to it. We have a bunch of different arrowheads and spearheads, as well as pottery that's been collected as far north as the St. Johns River and then brought here to be on display.
These the spearheads, right?
Yes, so the smaller ones are actually arrowheads, and then the longer ones that are like this one, that is a spearhead.
Oh, okay.
So it's a little bit different, but generally the same purpose. It's used for stabbing.
And these were the tools that they used to create the spearheads, right?
Correct. Or other instruments when it came to emptying out containers or even containers themselves. Like for well, that's with the Spanish, but so like when it came to the tortoise shells and stuff like that, you can see there's the shell dipper, and then the hand axe was whittled down from, to the best of my knowledge, it was like a tortoise shell like that, or a shell just in general. You could use all kinds of different stuff when it came to weaponry or even tools itself. The Native Americans were very resourceful, very resourceful. Nothing went to waste. It's one of the fascinating things when it came to studying.
These were the inventions.
Yes, so those were some tools And then you have the bit of the canoe there. And then we also have a larger one up there.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, this the no, it's not a boat, but
The canoe, yeah.
Oh.
And so, yeah, this one was found in the St. Johns River.
oh,
This one was found in Lake Apopka.
oh,
So this is much closer.
it's right here.
Yeah.
Interesting. Alrighty.
Alrighty. So then this area is going into the agricultural side of Apopka and the Central Florida area. So after the Spanish had come in and started to settle in the area, they started to need to produce food and such. So that's what led to the agricultural side, and it even led to what is known as the Florida Cracker Era, which is actually interesting considering the fact that Florida had their own cowboys, and not a lot of people know that. So when it came to the cowboys specifically with the Central Florida area, instead of lassos, because of the vegetation and the trees here in the area, they couldn't use anything when it came to a lasso because it was ineffective with the vegetation. So then that's what led to the Central Florida farmers to use whips instead when it came to the cattle and the livestock that they had, to be able to control the animals. But yes, so this was the agricultural side, and then leading into the citrus boom here in Central Florida. So a lot of people take on and say that the 1960s was the huge citrus boom that everybody knows about. And while yes, that is correct, that is a huge citrus boom, the Central Florida citrus boom was actually during the mid 1800s. And so at its peak, in between 1875 and 1895, the Central Florida citrus boom produced 60% of the world's oranges. It wasn't just the United States, it was the world's oranges. And again, at its peak, they were producing over 250,000 boxes a day. That's how many oranges they were producing. And so, when it came to the Central Florida area, unfortunately, we ended up having not one but two great freezes. The first one came in I believe it was November or December of 1894, and then the second one came later that same exact winter. It was January, February of 1895. And so that second one was the one that really killed a lot of the vegetation when it came to.
So the Great Freeze is like, it prevents like growth for like fruits and vegetables.
Exactly.
Oh,
So yeah.
okay.
So because of that, the area was pretty much frozen in one singular day. Less than 24 hours, it dropped 50 degrees, 50. Unfortunately, Orange County reported about 95% of their orange groves being killed in that freeze. And so it completely demolished the citrus industry here in Central Florida. And there are still citrus groves here in the Central Florida area, but not nearly as prominent as it was beforehand. And in fact, it actually took the citrus industry 15 years to grow back what they could do here in the Central Florida area further south once they picked up everything and moved further south. And so that's what led to turpentine when it came to the Apopka area. So unlike industries can pick up and move when it comes to needing to produce anything. Well, cities can't do that. So we needed to be able to produce something else other than citrus to be able to help our town survive. So that's what led to the turpentine industry. So with turpentine was used primarily for two different reasons. The first one was for medicine, because for some random reason, the 18 and 1900s, you put anything into medicine. But number two was because turpentine was also used as a caulking agent, or basically made ships waterproof. And so again, no idea why we thought that was good for medicine, but we did.
Made ships waterproof.
Made ships
It has
waterproof.
something to do with medicine.
But it was good for medicine. But these were some of the tools that were used to be able to get the material out of pine trees. It was essentially the same process as getting syrup, maple syrup, out of a tree, essentially. But once it was collected, then it would be mixed with a couple other substances, and then it would make turpentine. And so the turpentine industry itself was started gaining its popularity here in the area just in the later parts of the citrus boom, and then all lasted all the way up until the 1920s, 1930s.
Question.
Sure.
Where did Apopka get its name from?
It's a fantastic question. So when it comes to Apopka and its name, the reason why we have it as Apopka is because the Native American term for this area was called Ahapopka. So it was P-O-P-K-A. So Ahapopka, and it meant land of the potato-eating people. So that is why when it comes to this area, we are nicknamed the Big Potato, because of that.
Wow.
So, but yes, Apopka is short when it comes to that name. So Ahapopka.
Wow.
So then this is where it starts to come into the urbanization of Apopka, starting to get developed with the city of Orlando at this point now. So we have a whole bunch of different stuff when it comes to
Wow.
collection. So this model is pretty much just to show what life would have been like in the early to mid 1900s here in the Apopka area.
It just makes me want to time travel.
For sure, yeah, it's definitely something you see some of this stuff. I mean, it's really funny because so many people come in here and they see all this stuff. This is like, wow, I've never seen something like this. But just as an example, for me, I'm actually from the Midwest.
Oh.
And so that rolling vacuum, my grandmother used to own one of those.
The rolling
The
vacuum.
rolling vacuum right in the back, right there.
Oh,
So
I
just
see it.
behind there, yep.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, my grandmother owned one of those, and I was just like, I'm not even that old, and I know it. I've seen that. So, no, but it's always really funny too, as well, when we have student groups come in here or school groups come in here.
Oh, yeah?
And I tell them that's the washing machine. They're like, what?
Wow. Like, how did they use that?
Where's the buttons? I've heard that before. Where's the buttons?
Oh, yeah.
That's not how it was back then.
Wow.
So we do have a couple different typewriter collectors as well.
yeah.
So just in general, that's pretty much how any kind of paper was made back then. We also have the paper ribbon too as well up there. So you would load the ribbon in.
Oh, the paper ribbon. There. Okay. And then, what is this place?
So that house belonged to the Armstrongs. So the Armstrongs were, a prominent family here in the Apopka area. Unfortunately, the house is no longer standing. It is currently the Burger King that is downtown. Yes.
Burger King?
Burger King, yes. Yep, that house got
You're talking about the Burger King by,
just down here.
wow.
Yeah, yep. So
Why?
a lot of people have said that.
What?
It's a beautiful house.
And this the
That is the
showcase
house.
of the house.
Yes,
Oh,
it is.
okay.
So moving on down here, this is a part of our collection that is really significant when it comes to the time frame that it is of Apopka. So the city of Piedmont, or the town of Piedmont, was actually settled even before Apopka. So Piedmont was settled in the 1850s, so when Orange County was first getting its seat and just being organized, and Apopka was still about 30 years away at this point. So the city of Piedmont was a collection of Swedish people that had moved here from Sweden, ended up coming, I believe it was to the New York area, and then moving further south to be able to find work. And so this is a collection of different stuff when it came to some of the prominent families, the Larsons being one of them, and then the Olsons as well, here again being prominent families. With
And
them.
these people were they migrated from Sweden to Americas.
To America to be able
America.
to find work. And so another thing that I always like to point out here is that this came from a family later on, but this was a chest that after the city of Apopka was founded, they ended up going here. So, but yes, this is from one of the Swedish families themselves, and I always like to point that out too, because America is spelled with a K. So
Oh, yeah. That's
it's
interesting.
a little unique.
Yeah.
So we have a bunch of different sewing machines as well as tapestries when it comes to the design of some of the quilts that we had in the area, and then the dress and the attire as well.
Very nice. And what did this represent right here?
So that was a quilt that was made by Plymouth Baptist Church, just going over a bunch of different things when it came to what they wanted to depict on their quilt. But yes, the majority of these quilts were just made at home, and now we have them. So
Wow.
alrighty. So then one of the last things I always like to point out is this dress right here. This is a graduation dress that was used in the early 1900s.
1900s.
And this, the reason why I wanted to select this one, or show you this one, is because this is the exact same dress in use. So this dress is the one that she wore in this photo.
Wow.
About the bricks, yes. The company that did the bricks was with another company.
This is the exact same dress
The exact
that
same
she
dress.
wore in this photo. They have a lot of clothing, by the way, that was worn by the people.
Yes. So everything in this museum that you've seen today is actually donated to us. So it's primarily from families that have either collected or they've owned it themselves and just said, okay, we want the museum to take care of it. So. Sort of in the tour though, I always wanted to, or I always like to go right here. That is going to be with Mr. Edward Miner. He was the first curator of the Apopka Museum, and he helped set up the Apopka Museum itself. And then we also have Miss Elizabeth Grossenbacher, which is right here. She was the first president of the Apopka Historical Society and helped to set up the Apopka Museum when it was first made public on the second floor of the City Hall building.
Florida Historical Library Foundation. And they took part of this library, right?
Yes.
Alrighty. What about this right
So
here?
the records themselves, just records in general. This is how families listen to any kind of news or anything like that here in the Apopka area, and been very well kept. The one over there is a replica. Unfortunately, it is not working, but eventually, or hopefully, whenever you guys do decide to visit the museum, it will be working. So,
Alrighty. All right, guys, and we are here, the narrator and
Mrs. Brinkle.
Mrs. Wrinkle, and yeah, if you guys want to come here to Apopka and understand the oral history, definitely come here to this museum. And yeah.
We're happy to have you all, and thank you for stopping by. Our doors are open to everyone. Thank you very much for visiting the museums of the Apopkans.
and be sure to like us on social media. We have the Apopka Museum on Facebook and at the Apopka Museum on Instagram, as we post about our content and any stories you guys may be interested in.
All right, I'll link the details below. And yeah, till next time, this is Rare World Journey. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and please take care of yourselves.
Bye.
Bye.
See you.